Okay, so your first big assignment here um, is to take a chapter in the textbook. You'll have two during the semester, but take one of them and cut it down to somewhere between 1,000, 1,800 words, somewhere in that range. Particularly, it would be shorter if you have graphics. You also have to do a PowerPoint that goes with it that we turned into the graphic part of the video. The video lecture I'll create from your script for the whole class to share. Basically, as I explained before, we have two textbooks, a lot to learn, but you only have to read two chapters because other people are going to read the other chapters and they're going to share them through their efforts in bringing down, summarizing, if you would. It's not really summarizing, it's more of what's the right word for it? An abridgment is the right word in English. Is you don't actually change the words, but you get rid of a bunch of words. You may have to add a few words just to make it give some transition, and if you're referring to something that you created on the PowerPoint, like an example, and you're referring to it, then you may have to add some of your own words there. So your script should go along. In fact, on your script, you should put maybe in bold brackets, red or something, which slide you're on, because you're creating a slideshow at the same time. And so, at first, I presume you're in slide 1. Slide 1 might be like a title page. And then you go to slide 2, and so you're going to tell me when you think I should change slides. And that's exactly what I'll do when I make the lecture. I will go through the slideshow you created. I might make a few changes, but I'll go through the slideshow and be reading the script that you're giving me. And that's what's going to be shared with the rest of the class and what they'll listen to outside of class and take a quiz on. You're going to get the contents from two textbooks, but you're only going to have to read two chapters. So I don't think that's too much to ask. But those two chapters, you have to become the expert in those two chapters. And in the process of, you have to read it, then you have to figure out how to condense it. Again, an abridgment, basically, where you're not having to rewrite it. I have permission from the publisher to go ahead and make a multimedia version of their textbook. And so I have their permission. I have permission to use their graphics. So that's so you don't have to create a whole lot new. You're abridging what they already have, getting rid of some of the paragraphs, and depending how long the chapter is, that may be more or less difficult. I'm going to actually demonstrate this today in class. I took the first chapter from one of the textbooks. I forget which one it was. The longer one. That's the handbook, I believe. And that happened to be fairly short, and I mainly took it because it's not, just being an introduction, it doesn't have a lot of real strong content that I care about anybody presenting, but actually the more I got into it, it has some very interesting thoughts. And so I do actually think it's important, and I will actually create the more or less create it here today, but I don't know whether I'll replicate it and create a separate video. I'm not sure. But basically, I'm taking the first chapter of the handbook. And in the process, anyway, so I will go through the process here with you so you see how I would do it, and so that it'll be, you can envision and understand how you need to do it with your chapter. Okay? Again, just looking at our syllabus real quick, that falls in the second part, the video scripting. Each of the two scripts you create is worth 6% of your grade, so together 12%. Just real quick reviewing the rest of it. The quizzes that you take on the learning system are altogether worth 20%, basically 1% per quiz. In class, we'll be doing some projects right here as probably starting next week. Actually, next week, I'm going to give you next class to work on this project, on the scripting. And so next week there will be no lecture. I will just be here working with you if you have questions, helping you, anything you need to do. So next week, no lecture. I might, well, like I said, you might have a quiz based on the lectures that what I'm saying today. So you may have a quiz, but it won't be a new lecture that I'll be creating next. I may, again, create something that's not discussed in class for you to watch and to do a quiz on the following week. But as far as this class goes, there will be no live lecture in this class because we're going to be working on this assignment. Okay? So there certainly are, I don't think you can do it. Well, I say that you probably can't do it in 2 hours in the 2-hour class. That said, in looking at the one I'm doing, I could probably do that in 2 hours. It was maybe, again, a little bit shorter. I'm native English speaker, so I'm able to skim it a little faster, and I was able, I spent like 1 hour, and I think I have it pretty close to what I need. Yeah, so I didn't take a second. I don't think I'm going to be required, although we'll see. Actually, I haven't figured out how many words I left in it. So we're going to go through the process, and we'll see if I'm done yet. Maybe I'm not done yet. So your first time through, you may be deleting some obvious things that you're sure you don't want to use. And then once you use Word to tell you how many, MS Word to tell you how many words you have in the document, you may realize you still have to get rid of another 1,000 or something. And so it may take 2, maybe even 3 times through as you whittle down until you get below 2,000 words and decide that's okay. There won't be a penalty if you get, I mentioned my target is between 1,000 and 1,800. If you're still at 2,000, I'm not going to worry about that. It's not an exact number. Tell the story. You might be penalized at 1,000 if you don't tell the story properly. So 1,000 is the lower end, but it still presumes you're giving a good summary of the chapter. So 1,000 is fine if you're doing a good job. 1,000 is not enough if you're not doing a good job. So it's somewhere in that range. It's not a real fixed number. I don't want it to go over 2,000 words because I want to keep these videos quite short, relatively. I mean, I'm looking at somewhere between 10 to 15 minute videos here. So if it's over 2,000 words, then it's going to be over 15 minutes. So I'm trying to keep it below that. And so I don't mind if it's 1,000 as long as you tell the story. So that's the important part. Tell us what we need to know from that chapter. With the going again, the projects again will be things we do in class, and so normally after next week we will have. I might give you a paragraph to analyze and tell me why it's too wordy, how to make it better. And I may have you work in teams to discuss it with each other the first couple of times, and you may share. You may together create an alternative version, and somebody from your team come up and show it to the class, and we'll discuss it and decide which team did the best job or whatever. But we may go through that exercise maybe 3 times, and only the third one will count for points, and that one I will also grade. I may have your peers also kind of evaluate it, but mine's the one that really counts. So that's kind of the process of the class, and as you see then, there's basically, there's anticipation that we'll have 12 weeks, and each of those assignments will be worth 2 points, and so that'd be 24 points. Because we're taking off next week, we may end up with 11, and I'm not supposed to give points after the 13th week. That may leave us 1 week short, in which case some week you'll have 2 assignments, and they'll count 2 points each. But we'll get the 24 points out of it. Any questions on that? So the one thing I found out, and I didn't realize this before, there is a rather important difference between the Word version of the textbook and the PDF version. I had noticed last year that there was a little bit of difference, and I thought it was, what I saw was things like sometimes the charts weren't being aligned right and things like that. So I thought it was just a problem with alignment. But as I was looking at my chapter, I was reading, it said it referred to a chart. In the Word version, there was no chart. And then it referred to a story that somebody wrote. There was no story. So in the Word version, some of the graphics that the author put in disappeared for whatever reason. So the Word version is important so you can copy and paste, and you have something you can edit properly. But maybe once you've done that, you should be looking at the PDF version, and so that and I'll show you how to capture those graphics as I do it myself. So be aware of that. So I did not have the PDF versions in the L drive because I didn't realize that there was that much difference. So now there is the PDF version in the L drive. So if we look over here, this is kind of in the way here, but if we look over in the L drive, we see now a PDF version of Writing for Success and a PDF version of a Handbook for Writers. So those PDF versions are there now for your use. Okay, let me before I start doing my demonstration, I need to have you all sign up for, some of you have not signed up for chapters yet. I will pass this list around again. So my preference is that you do one from each book. However, there's only 15 chapters in the Writing for Success, and we have 19 students, so those that are choosing last will have to choose 2 from the second book. But until then, I'd like you to do one from each book, and so for several reasons, so that we can kind of go in some sort of a sequence. But also, I think the Handbook for Writers is a little bit easier than the other one. So it's only fair that, if possible, you do one from each book. One may be a little bit harder, a little bit longer. I don't know about harder, but longer. The chapters, I think, are longer in the Writing for Success book. So we want to make sure that that it's fair. So try to choose one from each, and if we run out of when we run out of Writing for Success, those remaining will have to take 2. And if we run out altogether, since I took one, 21 and 15 is 36. So we will run out. If it may not, there may be somebody missing today, so we may not run out today. I'll come up with 2 more assignments for somebody to do. I have another textbook called Business Writing, and so I'll choose 2 out of that. So whoever doesn't get a chapter out of this list, I'll give them one out of the Business Writing textbook I have. Okay? So I'm just going to pass this around. I don't know who signed up and who hasn't. Just write your name by, for those that have not signed up yet, again, write your name by one of these, and as long as they last, and then one of these on this page. Any question on that? So again, this is the assignment that we'll finish next week, hopefully, will be one of the 2 chapters you sign up for. Then in a few weeks, you'll have a second chapter to do the same thing with. Okay? Okay, so with that going around, I'll go ahead and show you my process of what I will be doing to create a video out of chapter 1. Let me So, again, I had to sign my name in front of the one that I'm doing today. So, first thing I'm going to do, as I think about this, first off, I'm going to open the Word version, and I'm going to copy out what's in the Word version and put in a different document, because I'm going to be messing it up and so forth, and I don't want to have to, that whole text is really long, And so I want to just be able to concentrate on the one chapter I'm dealing with at this moment. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it into a new document, or I can copy the other one and delete pages, however you want to do it. I want to end up with a Word document that just has my chapter. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So this one is from my handbook, I believe. Handbook's the second page, right? The one I signed in, handbook. Okay, so I'll open up handbook. And I will, let me just see if, before I expand. Okay, I'm going to put this in pause. So I'm doing the one called Writing to Think and Writing to Learn. I'm also, however, going to go to the, and open up the other one, because I'll need that also. So I'm going to open up the PDF. I meant the other one in the PDF version. Because as I said, there's some things in here that are not in the Word version. The first one I can think of, I don't think that one's in there either. But I'm not sure I made reference to it, but I didn't notice it before. So as I go through the Word version again, I may have to be cognizant that I've got this graphic sitting here that maybe okay, maybe I may have to go back to and look at that a little bit. And here I believe, where is it? So I'm seeing I've missed out on quite a few things here. There was more there that I missed than I thought that are just plain not in the Word version. So it's good for me to kind of go through here. Oops, I'm all the way to chapter 3. I got way past it somehow. Okay. That one problem. I thought some of that looked not familiar. Okay, here's a graphic missing from chapter 1 that I know of. And maybe I'll show you how to deal with that right now. There's another, you could do just a screen capture. Most of you probably know how to do a screen capture. But you'll get a little bit better quality. This one's kind of weak as it is. It's kind of hard to read. But there's another program on your computers. It's called View. I'm going to go ahead and, even though it's not going to capture on my video, I'm going to the Start button, and here's the View. You may have to go down to Programs and search for it, but View is kind of like a Photoshop, but it has a feature that would be helpful with this assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the View. And once it's open, all you have to do is hit C on your keyboard, and C is for captures. It's not Control C, it's not Shift C, it's just C. And C stands for capture. And what it does is it allows you to capture anything on your screen as a JPEG or as a TIFF file, and let you put it where you want it. And so I usually capture it as a TIFF file. It's a little bit better than a JPEG. If I'm not going to use it on the internet, I capture it as a TIFF file. So that's what I'm going to do with the graphics that I'm missing in Word. I'm going to go to PDF, and I'm going to use View to capture that image. And then I'll insert it into, I don't really need to insert it in Word. I need to insert it particularly into my PowerPoint. Any good graphics in that chapter, I'm going to probably want in my PowerPoint. And so I particularly need it for that. I need to be aware of where it's at as I create the script, and I need to make note, as I mentioned, I need to make note in my script to which slide I'm on, but I particularly need to capture that image and put it in my PowerPoint. Then I can go back and make note within the script that I'm creating. Here there's some options, but most of the defaults are okay. it takes a picture whenever I hit Control F11. It'll take a picture of the screen. This allows me to tell it what, this puts like basically the day, hour, and minute and second of when you take the picture. So this part I leave alone so that it's not replicated. For the first part, you can put the name on that you want to remind you what you were capturing. In this case, all I'm going to put is academic writing right there. So all the names that it's going to give these will start off with academic writing, and then I'll have a bunch of numbers representing when I did it. Now I'm going to decide where do I want to put it. So I hit the Browse button. In this case, I'll go ahead and put it into our folder, but put it under Instructors Presentations, I think. So I'm just going to go in there and hit OK. And I want TIFF because I want the better quality than JPEG, so I'm going to hit have it save it in a TIFF format. And I hit Start. So now with this one here, I can get a little better quality if I blow it up, for example. So I go hit the plus sign and blow it up a little bit, make sure that it all fits within, that I can see it all. It's going to capture the screen. And I'm going to hit on my keyboard Control F11. And it's kind of soft, but if you were close by, you could hear it go ding, and it tells me it did it. I might do it a second time just to make sure, and there's another ding. So that is being saved in theory. We'll go double check. I'll go back to the and check within Instructors Presentations, and here it is right here. There's two of them right here. Academic writing, a bunch of numbers representing, actually the key one is really 1, 2, but this also gives me the day and time in case I want it. So it's giving me the information of which was first, which was second, and when they were taken, what hour, what day, hour, minute, and so forth. The 3rd of September, 2016, 11:42 and 18 seconds, basically. Okay, so I have it. That's the other thing I need to do is, as I go through this, is have PowerPoint open. So I'll go ahead and open PowerPoint as well, just so I have it. And as long as I'm here, for now I'm just going to open a blank one. I'll worry about other stuff later. And I'm going to get rid of all that stuff, just have a blank slide for now. So going back to the graphic here, I'm going to open it, and it's not actually defaulting to OpenView, so I'm going to right-click it and tell it open with OpenView. Where's that? Open with. I'm going to open with OpenView because I like the way it also handles it. And I'm just going to draw a kind of a box around it like this. There are on YouTube lots of videos on how to use OpenView if you want to learn a little more about it. I just, with my cursor, drew a box around it, and I'm going, this isn't showing it, and let me hit pause a second and expand the borders here. Okay, so I'm going up to the Edit menu, and I'm hitting the crop selection. Now it crops everything else out except what I had in the box I drew. And usually the best way then to save it, and I'm going to move it over, go to File, and hit Save, parentheses, Original Folder. That's helpful because then you don't have to go looking for it. Then you don't accidentally save it someplace else. It's right where you had it before. And if you have the name that's okay, you can keep the same name, or you may want to, at this point, cut off and just leave it 001 at this point. I'm sure for sure that's the one anyway. So I hit Save. And again, if I go back, I'm going to hit Alt Alt and Tab. Let me go back. So I've got this screen capture going on, the screen casting, I mean. So I can see this version now, and if I open that up, it's opening up in a different program. In fact, that is opened up in Photoshop, and it takes longer to open up, which I didn't want to do. But we do have Photoshop in the computers also, if you prefer to use Photoshop. But I think it takes longer to open, so I have to sit here a second for it to open. Anyway, so that's what we have. And so if I wanted to, I could go ahead and just go ahead and put that into PowerPoint now. I can shift slides around later. So maybe just for now, I'll go ahead and hit Insert and hit Picture and go to the L drive and go find my picture and put it in the slide right now, and I'll probably shift things around a little bit, but I will go ahead and put that in, and I'm not going to consider it a final product. I'll put other words in it, whatever I want to do later, but it's there. Okay, so that's how I would handle the screen capture. I would use OpenView because it will take it'll take a better quality in the screen capture, and it actually saves it as at where you want it and in the format that you want it. So it's a little better than just doing a screen capture, although that's possible. You could do that too. You can do a screen capture and just paste it into PowerPoint. It may not be that much difference. I prefer to use OpenView. Okay, going back then to the Word document. So I need to if you don't know, you can use Shift and Shift-click to capture everything, at least everything that's Word. So, why is it not captured? There you go. Okay, I'm going to do a save as. That's the first thing I need to do, what I did wrong, because somebody else also had it open. So I'm actually in a copy, and I haven't saved it yet. So that's why I'll do a save as, and I'll go ahead and put in there. Then we'll go up and again put it into instructors presentations, and I'll put chapter 1. And I'll hit save. So at this moment, there's a lot more than chapter 1 here. And so there's a couple of ways you can handle it. Again, one is just delete everything else, and one is to copy what you want. And if you have to create a new one, and that's probably even easier, just create it once you have selected everything from your chapter. Maybe create one that says presentation or something, chapter 1 presentation. I'm going down, finding the end of this chapter, and right in here, then I'm going to hit the Shift button. So at first I just clicked. I'm going to hit Shift-click, and that has saved everything between here and where I put the first shift, or the first click. So I'll hit Control-C to copy it, and now I'll go ahead and go to File, and hit New, and into here I will hit Control-V, or you can go up to Control-V is Insert, Control-C is Copy, Control-V is Insert. I do keyboard commands because it's a little bit faster than going up to the menus and stuff. So anyway, so I think I did that before also, and I hit Control-C to copy it. I'm hitting Control-V now to paste it in. And so there is my text. Again, it's going to be missing some things, but we knew that to start with. We knew that it was going to miss some of the things. Some of the graphics just aren't in here. So we have the text, and this is the part where we need to worry about condensing down to 1,800 words. So I'll go ahead and now save this. And this will be saved. Make sure it's in the same place. Structure presentations for my case. And I'll put chapter chapter 1 script. Whatever it is. Okay, so I can go ahead and close the other chapter, Handbook for Writers. Oh, well. And I'll go ahead and close it. And so I'm back and just have my chapter in here now. Your question? I'm demonstrating in the first chapter. You're going to do whatever chapter you're assigned. Okay, so I guess for the people that are here today, everybody has 2 chapters now? Okay, that's good. So if somebody doesn't have any chapters, there's somebody that's not here, and so I'll have to deal with them later. And maybe they're planning to drop. Okay, so back to this, I now have the words I need to condense. I need to abridge. Again, the only writing of my own that I'm doing with this is if I need transitions. Now, as I said, I went in and read through this, or skimmed through it last night, so I have a pretty good idea of what I want to delete already. It took me less than an hour to make that decision, at least my first decision. Saying stuff that I thought really obviously could be deleted and still keep the story, so to speak. And so I'm going to first off go in and delete the stuff that I thought was deletable in my first review, and then we'll figure out how many words are left, and we'll go from there. It also is probably, there are some charts and things that if they're in Word format, if they are, and it's going to count those as words too, which really aren't quite, they're not part of the script. If they're in a chart of some sort or a table of some sort, they're not really part of the script. So I can kind of realize that's a little bit throwing off the count a little bit too if it's reading words in a table. But it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to be, there might be 100 to 200 words in the table, and so I'll be cognizant of that, but I'm not too concerned about it. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go to having already reviewed it last night real quick. Let me see. I'm marking my front page. Where's my front page at? There it is. Okay. So, again, going up here, and it was probably good also that I took the time to go back and look at, in fact, I'm thinking I was in the wrong chapter. So I'm going to go back here before I start my editing, go back to the PDF and see what and make sure that I know what graphics are there. Because I think I got off a second ago and was looking at chapter 4, and I went down too far in the text. So all this looks like word stuff, word stuff, word stuff. And so here in chapter 1, that was the first one, was what's called a Venn diagram. And so it goes down, 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 down. Don't see anything there. That's the next one. This did not show up. And so the text, the word text was making reference to this, but it didn't exist. So that will need to be copied and put in. In fact, as long as I'm here, it's probably a good idea to just go ahead and copy it. So I'm going to get centered here, make sure I've got all the text. And that shadow box is kind of nice, and so since I have their permission to use their graphics, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got the whole shadow box inside in view. And again, I'll hit F11, and I heard a ding, but I hit another one. So I have that graphic captured. This is something that this is in here. But it's also something that I would probably want to use. The question is how to do it. This is split into 2 pages. That box, however, the box in this table is not split. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control F11 again, twice. Go down and maybe go ahead and break this into 3 graphics. Rather than reducing the size and trying to put more in, I'll get better quality if I just go ahead and break this into pieces. And so I'll go ahead and then get those last 2. I can put them on the same slide if I think I want to, but okay, so I have that one. Even though it's part of the Word document, this will give me a better copy. So I'm going to get that. Skim through, skim through, skim through. Here's another one. This looks like the other one, and you're right, it did not appear. I'll copy that. This one is in the document, in the Word document. But again, I think I can. I think I'll split that in half, and I can overlap a little bit. I can edit. Both in Earth and View, or in. I can crop it also in PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of that, because I'll probably want to use that in the, and I know this is overlapping, and that's okay. I'm going to overlap it on purpose. Like I said, I can piece them together that way, or whatever I want to do. Okay, so I have that one. Okay, so that's all there is in Chapter 1. It appears to be a little bit shorter chapter than most of yours, but for demonstration purposes, that's good. I didn't want to take anything real substantive away from you guys. Anyway, so that's the PDF. So I'm going to go back and go to the Word document. Again, I did Alt-Tab. Lets me hit down. If you don't know already, I hold down the Alt button and hit Tab. It shows me all the things I have open. And then I just hit Tab and Tab and Tab and Tab, and it tells me this is down in this area here. It tells me this is the HFS, which is the wrong initials, but anyway, HFS Chapter 1 script. So that's the one I want to. So I let up on at this point, let up on the Alt button, and it takes me there. But anyway, so I'm back looking at. The actual Word document, and going back to the notes that I had from last night. I'll probably, some of this, again, I won't actually read as part of the script. I didn't really even consider putting in the this, so I didn't actually look at this last night, so I can decide right now whether I want this introduction. Yeah, I think I'll keep that. I didn't even think about it, but I'm going to. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the, I'm going to get rid of the subtitle. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'll keep the subtitles in, get rid of other subheads. I looked at this part, and basically I'm replacing this part. This is kind of almost like a script for the professor to talk to students about. You can see him using this discussion with a live class. And so I could put it into the video, but I think it's not really appropriate for that. What I actually have the content of the videos I just did for those that were here in time. So when I asked you the question as far as what you want to get out of this class is kind of equal to what you see here. And I could actually include that real video in my video chapter. I could cut it down to your responses and leave you in the video if I wanted to. But I don't think I really need to do that. In my notes, it looks like maybe I should just replace this real quickly. I'm going to go ahead and make the change, and I'm going to add a little bit in front of it to replace all these words. Those words are going. I'm putting a capital W here. But it does kind of refer to some questions being asked. So starting off, what does this personal question about your motivations for being in college have to do with examining the status quo? I'm having to think here a little bit on my feet. And I don't have my mic down here. Pick it up. So I originally actually crossed out that page, and then I said, no, I need some of it. I think I will go ahead and cross that out and go down to, again, I'm going to click at the what and go down to where it says getting into the habit. And I'm going to just get rid of all that. So getting to the habit of examining or even challenging the status quo doesn't necessarily mean putting yourself in a constant state of revolution or rebellion. Rather, the process suggests a kind of mindfulness, a certain disposition to ask a set of questions about your surroundings. It does have a definition of status quo that was interesting, that I might stick back in here, and I'll just type it from I did copy the chapter out to make some edits on it. Okay, status quo means. So this is actually, I could have kept it, but I already cut it out. Okay, so I've kind of maybe reworded a little bit, but put in a little bit of information, because that's a new term for some people. Status quo, some of you may not be familiar with that term, or people that listen or see the video. I might use the video sometime in the future for another class or something. So I want to go ahead and define what status quo means, because it talks quite a bit about status quo. Again, status quo meaning the state in which, in other words, what exists now. So that it has some questions about the status quo. What is the status quo? And basically it's saying in whatever subject you might choose, so a certain disposition to ask a set of questions about your surroundings. And I think it's not quite clear right here, so I might add maybe regarding any situation in which that you are now dealing with, you can ask these questions. Maybe a little better lead into the questions. So if you say, your question is surviving in Kazakhstan with the high exchange rate. You know, what is the status quo? You describe that. Why is the status quo the way it is? Why is the exchange rate the way it is? You could answer that. That's a diagnostic question. What or who made the situation occur? What happened? Why do we have this high exchange rate now? What or who? Well, I already said that's a forensic question. And was the high exchange rate ever different in the past? That's historical. What obviously was. Who benefits from keeping the high exchange rate the way it is? That's more investigative. Why isn't it? Why can't we get it back? And then only after these relatively objective questions have been asked, researched, and answered might you hazard a couple of additional, potentially more contentious questions. How would or should the high exchange rate be different in the future? Obviously, we want it down. What steps would be required to make this situation different? So that's more of a policy base. So these are questions you can ask yourself and analyze essentially any current situation, current issue, whatever. These are questions you could ask. And you see the kind of analysis of what type of questions you're asking. Okay, so going on down, I've decided then I want those questions in. I want the next chapter in, these last two types of questions. It talks about those questions. And then it starts referring, because it's the first chapter, it's talking about other chapters. And so that I definitely don't need. It's kind of confusing, and I just don't want it. So that's this. Okay, so this paragraph I want out of there. By the way, a click, 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 a triple click will select a paragraph. I want that paragraph out of there. And I want this paragraph out of here. Yeah, that one's gone too. Triple click, delete. Okay, so I have that much down. And going to the next page, I want to okay. My notes got mixed up again, and I'm missing a page 6. Okay. Well, we're missing a page here. But I didn't want this. It talked about status quo of academic writing. Yeah, I did have a question about that. But I wanted to basically just leave that question. Actually, that's the question I wanted to ask. What is the status quo of academic writing? Well, what is... I really don't want this down to here. Let me see where I'm going to... Okay, so I may have just done away with that on purpose. Those are questions I would ask, and actually that's more of a discussion question. And don't know whether I'm going to put some script in that or not. I'll think about that a little bit. But I'm going to go down and skip that whole next page or so and go down, hit a shift button and hit click there, hit delete. And so after those thought questions, come down to there, pick up the script here. Near the end of this section, you and I think I'll change that a little bit. I want you now to apply the mindfulness questions to traditional practices, and that's not what I want, to other topics, such as, and here's the other topics. And so I'm actually going to take this, and I'm going to hit also on the keyboard Control X. X is kind of like scissors, and X is cut. So I'm going to hit Control X on the keyboard. Again, it's in your edit menu or whatever menu they have now. The new word has screwed everything up. So that's particularly why I use keyboard commands. So I'm going to in here put these other subjects that I want you to consider, or want the student to consider using mindfulness questions about. So fashion, sports, filmmaking, whatever. And then maybe put in here your selected topic above. If this is if I hit just enter, I get another bullet, and you can do that and hit the bullet item and get rid of it. You can also have, by the way, however, hit shift enter and it wouldn't have caused the bullet. Shift enter is line break, so it's, what it's waiting for to put in another bullet is enter as a new paragraph, and then it puts in a bullet item. But if you click here and you put shift and hit enter, it gives you a line break and that doesn't cause a bullet. So that's what I would normally have done, is just shift enter line break. Okay, so I'm going to apply that to that. I don't want this chapter, or this paragraph. That's out of there. The learning objectives we don't need. That's really discussion for the teacher more than anything else. And this paragraph needs a little bit of rewording. Well, maybe this is okay. Section 1.1, examining the status quo. We examine status quo by asking a set of mindfulness questions about a variety of topics. In this question, we'll explore other ways to open up thinking and writing through the systematic process of critical inquiry. Okay, so I want that going through, and in here is the Venn diagram. I'm going to just, because I'm not really sure what slide it will be for now, I'm going to put in here a bracket. And I'm just going to paste in Venn diagram, bracket, and I'm going to get red, bold, and so I know that's telling me that's where I want to slide. So I don't know which slide it is yet, but that tells me I do want to slide there, for sure. I'll go back and create some new slides other slides before this probably, like slides with the questions, maybe the slides of topics that they were going to possibly analyze. And this is where I may write some additional script, or I may kind of ad-lib it. But if you're doing it, you should probably write, for example, if I'm going to be referring to that slide, first off, maybe in here, I'm going to just copy that, Control-C, go back in here, and in here I want a slide for topics, and then really maybe a separate slide for the question. So one slide will review the topics that you could choose. This one then would be, by the way, a double click and selects the word, selects the questions, and then in here I need to turn off the red when I start typing. I think you can let me ad-lib a little bit. If it's really obvious, maybe what you could put in is in bracket, after the red bracket, put in there review slide. So that's not a real hard. You know, these are the sort of topics that you could use with this list of mindfulness questions. Down here, though, maybe I would type in script a little bit different. So I might choose one of these that I like. So, oops, it is coming out red, so I'll have to change that to black. I may put this in the past tense. I guess I'll leave it in present tense. I'm thinking of making the video that could be used in the future. It may be a little confusing using it in present tense, but I'll leave it that way. Majority of U.S. voters want neither candidate. I'd say that's enough of that. Why is it that way? Nomination process is influenced by the political parties and people of influence. So the news media, for example, Donald Trump received about 4 times as much news coverage as any of his Republican opponents. Anyway, you get the idea. If I'm going to make a new video, I need to go ahead and continue that, go through this whole set of questions to analyze. I'm kind of helping them see how to analyze, and I'm going to challenge them to do some, the reader to do some analysis later. Okay, so we have those slides and that text, add a little bit there. Here I'm, so down the Venn diagram, asking the following questions about practically any kind of text will, by the way, up above it, it talks about text, and it defines what they mean by text, the text about which question can be asked. Here it says text should be defined here very broadly as anything that can be subjected to analysis, not a written text necessarily. So they have a little bit different explanation there, and they talk about that a little bit in the script that I've left. And so down here again, it talks about a short assignment in a journal or blog, or perhaps a group of whole class exercise, try out these questions. So I need to decide how I want to do it, because this is, again, kind of like a script for the professor in class. So if I'm going to actually make one that's usable in my class, really what I'm saying is now it's your turn to select a topic and to analyze it with the mindfulness questions. I add just a little bit of rewriting there. The question may be whether I want to make this an assignment, a real assignment, but I'll come back to that question. I still want them to think about it regardless. Self-content, these are all questions. This goes into more depth. Well, so it's not actually the mindfulness questions with the following questions. They've elaborated, added more questions here. Talks about rhetorical questions, hypothetical questions. I'm leaving all that in. I'm going to take away the takeaways. Go down to the next section, at least. So I clicked at the top, shift click here, get rid of that. Go down below that. I'm shift clicking in front of the learning objectives, going down to the paragraph that starts with let's. And shift clicking there, deleting that. This is going through this table, and this is where we've missed an insert. So here, try this. So the student has writing. This is where it's supposed to be in here, I think. Okay, so I need to put in again. Let's see, what did I have in my memory? Okay, so I'll bring that back into red. And here I'll say student writing, student example. There are actually two student examples, so this is student example 1. And make it red. I'll need to make a PowerPoint for that. This part is, actually I'm going to copy that because I know I'm going to get to that, go to a separate student example. I still have some more takeaways to get rid of. and going down to here, get rid of that, get rid of its learning objectives, start off the paragraph, and then I'm going to get rid of I have a little bit of rewriting here. Let's see, youth standardized test. Okay, we live in a culture that values, I need to remember what I wanted to write here. We live in a culture that values taking a stance, having an opinion, making a judgment, and backing it up with evidence. Being undecided or even open-minded about an issue can be seen as a sign of weakness or sloppiness or even as a moral or ethical failing. Our culture also privileges action over the kind of reflection and contemplation this chapter is advocating. Get rid of that. And it says something, say something like in however society and people within our society do not always encourage us to mindfully, that's the word they use, consider all aspects of an issue. Okay, so I think that's okay to transition into this. Here's an entry, so here's another. This is example 2, student example 2. And then here, a rush to judgment has caused this student to fall into the same quick thinking trap of the student in section 1.3. The remedy, isolating the phrases worthy of further examination indicated here, as in 1.3, is similar. Okay, so I think I'll leave that. So we have some more questions here, and I'm going to have to look at this again to make sure this flows right. I'll leave that for now. Yeah, no, I guess I remember what I was going to write here. So I'm going to take this part, there are, I'm going to replace that with there are. Or at least when I was looking at this last night, thinking I may have cut out some of the stuff it's referring to, so I didn't want to do that. So I cut that out, hit the takeaways and exercises, and my chapter's over. Okay, so the chapter's done. I can go now to review and hit word count. I'm still over, but that's counting all these tables. So I may not really be over. I may be about right, or maybe about 2,000 if I take out, because I'm not going to be reading necessarily these tables, but I'm going to be referring to them. So I need to probably go through again before I think I will make this so you have an example. I will go through and I'm sorry we didn't take a break, but we're almost done, so there's no point doing it now. I will go ahead and create a video out of this probably this week so you have an example. You know some of the PowerPoint items I'm going to want. Definitely the student paragraphs that they're analyzing here. I want the Venn diagram, obviously. And previously I also captured some of the items on these tables so that as I talk about those, the people watching the video will see the tables clearly. That because obviously I'm talking and they have to see what I'm talking about. So the tables, even though they are in Word, that's beside the point. I need to change those tables. Well, make sure they're graphics. Put them as graphics into PowerPoint. Let me put it that way. What else could I put in PowerPoint? So I have the things that disappeared, the Venn diagram, that stuff that disappeared. As I mentioned, the tables, like in some places I was copying the questions. I should go back. There were those additional questions that it asked them to talk about, referring to text and context and all that sort of stuff. Those questions should go in. Probably anything that's kind of set apart. If you're referring to it in the text, remember that it doesn't make sense for me to read necessarily every question up here. And so, in a sense, that's not, you can leave it in the text, but I'm not going to probably read it. That needs to go into the PowerPoint. So the students can see the questions being asked. I might refer to some of them, but I'm not going to read all the questions. And so anything that's in a table, anything that's a list of questions like the bottom of this one is, that stuff should be in a PowerPoint. So I'll address it, and again, you should consider what's in the script, what I'm actually going to read, and what I'm going to refer to, what the student or whoever is watching the video is going to see. I'm saying this, they're seeing this. So they're not going to see all the text, they're not going to see what I'm reading, and but they are going to see this other stuff. So my text needs to refer to any slide I create, obviously, but it doesn't necessarily, like I said, I'm not going to read every question. And so you might need to put in a sentence or two referring to just a couple of the questions, just so that it, there's some text, some script that relates to this slide that I just created in PowerPoint. There should be, I should say something about it. Why do I bring up a slide and not say anything about it? I actually did that earlier here. I put in red there that I was going to put in a slide, and I had no script for it. As I recall, I had put two slides one after the other. I had a short script for one of them. I had no script for the other one. So you need to make sure that when you put up a slide, you have script. And if you see something in the chapter that, in fact, it might be good. For example, a list of questions. You don't anticipate that I'm going to read all the questions. Maybe you leave in black the ones you think I might want to read, and might kind of fill in the blank as an example, and put in red the ones you don't think I'm actually going to refer to verbally. And of course, then that becomes part of your slide. So the whole thing becomes part of your slide, but some I'll refer to, some I won't refer to. Leave the ones you think I should refer to in black, the ones you think that I should just kind of let people see, look at on the slide in red. And anything red tells me I'm not reading this. This is not part of the script, really. Besides the obvious things in tables, you don't need to mark all that in red, because in some cases he's color-coded them for reference purposes. So in that case, don't turn them red, because we want to keep his color coding. You understand what I'm saying? So again, you may have some questions as we get into this next week. You see, this has taken me quite a while just going through there, even though I went through it last night. So you do need to go through your slideshow, or your script, your chapter, and probably get at least, before next week, get at least basically where I'm at right now. So you're going to have to take a little bit of time to do that. Read through it and cut it down to where it's really close to what you want. Preferably get it down, take a second path through, and if necessary, cut out some more. And so I'll have to go back through, and it'll probably take me, at this point, probably another hour to do that. To go back through, consider what I have in the script now. What can I get rid of? What do I want to get? Do I want to get rid of one of the student examples and just leave one student example to analyze? Do I want to get rid of, there was that I was going to say that part about text and context and all that, that's quite long. I didn't really leave a lot of, that's one of the areas where there's not a lot of script to that. You may have to add a little bit of script, or at least, again, mark the questions you think I should kind of refer to. Or just say, these are the sort of questions you should be asking yourself as you think about a topic to research. And then just show the questions, and I'll just let the slides stay on there for a few seconds and say nothing. There'll be some empty audio while people are looking at the sort of questions you might ask yourself as you prepare to research a subject. That's the sort of questions we're all about. So you might just kind of make just a very short reference to that, and then I would know I need to leave those list of questions in the video. I need to sit there and just be quiet for a few seconds while people read through the questions, and that's all there is to it. I mean, if I want to say something myself, I will. I might ad-lib something, but you could again, mark or leave black the ones you think I might want to refer to, and put red the others, and I can make my own decision. What do I want to refer to? What I don't want to? But all those questions go into a PowerPoint. And at some point, if there's a whole bunch of questions and I'm not saying much, then basically I'm going to just shut up for a second and let them look at the PowerPoint. So anyway, so you're kind of the editor, producer of the video that I'm going to create here. So you're going to have to make some editorial decisions. What makes sense here? That's your job. That's what you're being graded on. Is you making editorial decisions as to what should be said, what shouldn't be said, what should be seen visually, what doesn't need to be seen visually. And in this case, I need to go back and make one more review and try to get rid of another 400 words. Figure out, where do I get those other 400 words? I thought it was flowing pretty well the way I had it. But we're trying to keep this down below 15 minutes. I need to get rid of another 400 words, I think. But actually I could go back and maybe do a calculation on all those tables, and I may find out I'm down to 1,800. There are more words in those tables than I thought. Because, I mean, just to take a look here real quick, and it's not just the table, also these list of questions. I talked about that. So here, if I click into here and shift-click into the start of that, and just go with that selected, go to the word count. No, that is taking the whole thing. I thought it would take. Used to be when you selected a certain piece of the text, it would just measure that part. Let me go up, and maybe it's because in a table it's not doing it. So these are the bunch of questions they're asking, the 20 questions about the self, text, and context. Let me see if I select that, if that gives me a word count. Yeah. So just that list of questions is 306 words. That by itself gets me under 2,000, just that list of questions. There's other lists of questions, there's other tables. So I would say I probably am down to 1,800 words of script once I consider what's not going to be part of this script. What's visible to me, but not going to be said, not going to be iterated as I make this video. So I might still go through and take one more pass and see, okay, can I make it even shorter anyway? And see if there's another paragraph or two. But it looks to me like if I'm not going to read all these questions, and I'm not going to be reading, I'll make some reference to it. I'll have to decide, again, which questions I'm going to actually maybe read to the students audibly and kind of help them analyze. Or if I'm just going to say, here are some questions you should ask yourself about your subject that you choose. And then give them some dead time to watch it. I have to think about that. And then same thing with those tables. In some cases I do want to say, okay, this is what he said, because when you go look at that table, he is analyzing the student, the upper below. So he was analyzing that student's a couple of paragraphs, a paragraph or two paragraphs. The student talks about today's world, and he's saying, well, here's a whole, this could be an entire essay, a historical comparison with other job markets for high school dropouts. The student says many things that may serve as an obstacle, or students are forced for other reasons to have to drop out. This is a topic for an entire essay, a study of the leading causes of high school dropout rate. So I might refer to a couple of these, and this is again where I'd say I leave those in black, and then the rest of this table I mark in red, meaning let them just look at it on the table. I don't need to go through all of these. So you can tell me how much of it you think I should cover. I may go back through and before I do the video decide to cover a little more, a little bit less. You're telling me what you think, and I'll make the final judgment before I make my video. You get the idea? What questions you have? I'm sorry if is this boggling your mind? Do you understand? It's a challenge. And that's one reason why we're taking all of next Saturday, just for me to help you. But you do understand you need to do some work before then. Knock down the chapter you decide to do. You've chosen 2 chapters, so you choose one for next Saturday to work on. And before then, you need to knock it down to 2,000 words or so. But again, considering all the things I was considering here, that the tables aren't necessarily part of the word count, the questions aren't all necessarily part of the word count, all those sorts of things that I have been trying to walk you through. You are going through the same process as you prepare your script. Okay? It's really, well, it's challenging, but since you're not having to write very much, it's mostly kind of an analysis. It's you analyzing what is in this chapter that's important. What can I get rid of that's not vital? We want to chop this down to 15 minutes and share with the rest of the class the key points that this chapter makes. That's what our goal is. Every chapter, we want to knock it down to the key points each chapter makes. And we're getting rid of everything else. We just want the most important stuff. So that's your job, is figure out what's the most important stuff here, and get rid of the rest. And so keep it down to the word count, more or less of what I was talking about. Any questions? Okay, well, this was all being recorded in case you have, need to watch it again, or for the person or whoever wasn't here. I will create a few questions out of this discussion, and so the video and the questions will go up on the e-learning system for your reference, for your completion. And that should do us for today. Okay, thank you.